Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Tony HB, and welcome to my first video on this channel. My channel is called TWF, FPR, FPW Sims. And what we basically, what this is my the channel for my E Federation, the E Federation that I'm doing with Fire Pro Wrestling, currently with Fire Pro Wrestling World. So I want to thank you all for being here today. This is like an introduction video to my channel, a little bit background about my project, how did I got here, and where we're going from here. So let's begin. This project started many years ago when I played my first wrestling video games. I played games like No Mercy, Here Comes the Pain, and WWF SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. And I love playing those games. So for me, those games for me are one of the those are the top wrestling video games of all time. And what I did with those wrestling games, I used to do this creative things, or use my imagination to do wrestling shows, to do wrestling pay-per-views on those games. And and some of those games have like a pay-per-view mode. It wasn't what I really wanted to do. I wanted to do something more creative with a pay-per-view mode. So a couple of years later, I played the WWE 2K14 WWE 2K14 game, which for me, even though that game has its own criticisms, for me that game is one of my top wrestling games, especially because of its content. It has a big roster, especially from the 30 years of WrestleMania, and also I was able to download almost 100. I was able to download 100 creative wrestlers to WWE 2K14. In addition to that, WWE 2K14 has this universe mode. I was able to do, and it was from there in which I was able to do my wrestling shows. And to be a little bit creative, I started my E Federation there, and I did two shows. I did WWF Raw and WCW Nitro, and it was like I was not focused in a, let's say, a specific era. What did we say? Focus on doing a E Federation based on the 90s or the 80s, or doing a E Federation based on a promotion or a country. I was focused on bringing wrestlers from around, present, past wrestlers, and getting wrestlers from different promotions and countries, making it a fantasy universe E Federation. So that's what basically I did in WWE 2K14. But before I did that in WWE 2K14, we're talking about here about this happened in 2014. Before that, around 2007, 2006, I was looking for a game in which I was able to do my wrestling shows, and then I found out about this game called Fire Pro Wrestling, and then I started doing my research about the Fire Pro Wrestling game series, and for me it looked like okay. And at first I criticized it. I thought that the game wasn't that good, but once I got into it, I went beyond the 2D graphics, and I saw that this is perhaps the most realistic wrestling video game that I've ever saw. And looking for me, back in 2007, we got the release of Fire Pro Wrestling Returns in the United States for the PS2, and I was able to get Fire Pro Wrestling Returns for the PS2, and with a friend of mine, we were able to do E Federation. We were able to do our wrestling federation. My friend used to have. We did like a like a fantasy federation. I used to. We did WWE and TNA. In addition of those wrestling promotions, we brought wrestlers from Japan, from New Japan Wrestling, All Japan, Noah, and also other promotions, former promotions like ECW and WCW. So overall, we have, I have one roster, one federation, and you have the other federation, and we used to compete with each other about producing the best wrestling shows, and it was a lot of fun. That happened between between 2008 and 2011. In 2011, we stopped doing the wrestling. Uh, we stopped doing the wrestling. E Federation in Fire Pro Return, and it wasn't until last year that I realized that Fire Pro Wrestling Return was released in 2013. And if I have realized that back in 2013, instead of doing an E Federation with WWE 2K14, I would have certainly done it with Fire Pro Wrestling Returns. So at least I was able to get it. I was able. So what I basically did, I got a copy of Fire Pro Wrestling Returns on the PS3, and I transferred the information of my E Federation for both Raw and Nitro from Fire Pro from WWE 2K14 up to Fire Pro Wrestling Returns, and I was able to transfer the rosters and the champions all from WWE 2K14 into Fire Pro Wrestling Returns. And what I basically did, I decided to start a new season at Fire Pro Wrestling Returns on the PS3, and then I proceeded to do a draft for both WWF Raw and WCW Nitro, using the wrestlers that I got from WWE 2K14, in addition of getting new wrestlers from the different save files for Fire Pro Wrestling Returns. And for me, this was much easier because this time, because back then I had to use like there was like these devices like Game Shark that people use for cheat codes. I needed to use that to get my save files to get wrestlers to Fire Pro Wrestling Returns. This time on the PS3, I can use my flash drive and get save files to the PS3 and be able to download the wrestlers into the game. So I did that. I did a draft, and then I proceeded to do my wrestling shows. This time I did my two shows, WWF Raw and WCW Nitro, but I did mostly pay-per-views because obviously I'm limited with time. But at least I'm able to do pay-per-views, TV specials, and at least one to two Raws and Nitro. I did 4 pay-per-views, 4 TV specials. The TV specials, there was a TV special for WWF Raw was Saturday Night's Main Event, and for WCW it was a Clash of Champions. And then we got the 4 big pay-per-views, which were the inter-promotional pay-per-views. And for these inter-promotional pay-per-views, I used the WWE pay-per-views called, I used the Survivor Series, the SummerSlam, the Royal Rumble, and WrestleMania. And I did my roster. I went more into detail with my Excel. I did Excel spreadsheet before for my for my wrestlers, years before. But I will try to do it my own way again this year. And I'm going to show you those Excel spreadsheets in my second part of my videos. So in the next second part 2, I'm going to show you my Excel spreadsheet for my first season of Fire Pro Wrestling Returns. So overall, that's a little bit of background of how did I got here. And my wrestling federation, as I said, is called TWF, in which I have the WWF and WCW brands, between 40 to 50 wrestlers in each brand. And I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the Excel spreadsheet alongside the Word documents for my pay-per-views and TV shows with the results of last year for all my shows. And I'm gonna start doing videos for my Fire Pro Wrestling World shows. What I did was I transferred all the information from Fire Pro Wrestling Returns to now Fire Pro Wrestling World. So recently, a couple weeks ago, I started my second year of TWF at Fire Pro Wrestling World. And I did a draft. I was able to get new wrestlers to both Raw and Nitro. So I was able to do that between 20 new wrestlers going to Raw, 20 new wrestlers going to Nitro. And I'm gonna do is that the next couple of videos I did a show called TWF Draft Week. So, in which I did a raw and nitro for the draft, and I use a website, a drawing website to do my draft lottery for both rosters. So what I'm going to do in the next couple of videos, I'm gonna put the matches I'm gonna put for my shows, for my draft week shows in the next couple of days, so that way you guys can be able to enjoy it, the matches that I did for my draft shows. So let's go now to the second part of my introduction video, and I'm going to talk to you now. I'm going to show you my Excel spreadsheet for my first season of TWF. I'll see you then. Thank you.